1978. This is the sequel to Night of the Living Dead. Summary for this film: following an ever-growing epidemic of zombies that have risen from the dead, two Philadelphia SWAT team members, a traffic reporter, and his television executive girlfriend seek refuge in a secluded shopping mall. Written and directed by George A. Romero. Jason, do you have details on this?
Yeah, so I think everybody knows this tagline. When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. That was one of the first taglines that ever stuck with me, and I remember since the first time I read it on the box.
Fucking it's metal as fuck, man. Just
that's a hard ass line.
Distributed by United Film Distribution Company, and I always try to give at least the most recent or the best transfer or whatever. Anytime I'm talking about a Blu-ray release, that's what I'm going for. And John knows all about this latest one from Second Sight, 4K Blu-ray limited edition, which I didn't know they were even going to do this, but now they've released like the lesser version of it. It's like
I don't think you get the soundtrack. I don't think you don't get all the extra shit. You know what I mean? Or maybe you get the soundtrack, but not the book and all that.
Yeah,
you get a taste.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be picking that up. Mainly because I'm just going to throw this out there. We all know there's 100 different cuts of this movie.
Yeah,
and so I have the only version I have is the European version, and that's just too long for me. 2 hours long is just too long for me. So. Anyway, I'm going back to the Second Sight release. I'm going to pick that up just so I can have the theatrical version. Yeah, that's all I need.
So basically, the story on this movie is that was it Dario Argento? He invited George Romero over there to write this movie, right? And helped them produce it, gave money.
Yeah, they couldn't get the funds or something in the U.S.
Yeah, and then all he wanted was the rights to release it his own way over there. So that's why there's all these different cuts of it. But
hold on, sorry.
No.
Had my headphones on backward.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm so uncomfortable. I am so sorry.
No problem. So Tom Savini evidently says in hindsight he thought that the gray skin color on the zombies was a bad idea because some of them ended up looking blue. It's true, but I like that. I like how they look.
They look more blue. The worse the quality is too.
Yeah. A fun little extra that I read. The trivia on this is enormous. It's page after page, but the extras in this film were evidently given $1 in cash, a donut, and a Dawn of the Dead T-shirt. And I'm saying I would do it. It's worth it to me.
Yeah, no, I totally.
I would be right there. I'd be like, you can even keep the $1. I don't care. Whatever. I'm in the movie. I get a shirt. Whatever. Yeah, I thought that was funny. But evidently, all these zombies, they would film at like 10:30 or something after the mall closed, and the guys would get painted up, as zombies. It would take forever, and they would go and drink at that bar that you see in the background. What was it called?
The Lovey Pub.
I thought it was
like the steak Lovey Pub.
Yeah, it's always Brown that Derby, same right? Shot.
Yeah, it was the Brown Derby.
Yeah.
Oh, Brown Derby.
Yeah, they evidently would go there and get drunk. And they didn't mind because it made their performances, it added to their performances, like, honestly. But a couple of them stole a fucking golf cart and crashed it inside the mall, and it cost them $7,000. Wow. Just the image of two guys painted up like zombies. Well, just them going and drinking at a bar dressed up like zombies. I mean, yeah.
And it wasn't even the bikers too. Like it was the blue face extras. Like,
but I think those bikers were a real gang too. I can't remember what their name was.
In a sense,
they were the whole in the wall gang.
Yeah. That's exactly how I like. So this was one of the earliest horror I remember seeing. So like before I knew, I was able to tell right away between like Night, Day, and Dawn and stuff. Or any zombie movie always described this movie as the blue face zombies in the mall. Like that. Yeah. That was my description of this movie growing up.
Yeah, and that's what makes it unique. And and evidently Romero was trying to make it look more like a comic book, so that's why like he really liked. Savini hated the way the blood looked, but Romero said it was like right in line with what he wanted this shit to look like. So I mean, one of the funny things I read was the actress that plays Francine. Her name's Gaylen Ross. She evidently just knew what she wanted this character to be, and it didn't even matter what Romero told her to do. He told her to scream at one point, and she told him that no, this character wouldn't do that, and he never asked her to do it again. And she like she wouldn't play a character that wouldn't fight these fucking things. So she like was going her own way completely, which is that's a bold move, you know. And I think that I liked that. That's why I like this more than Night of the Living Dead, because Barbara in that movie is just screeching the whole fucking time, man. And I think that maybe Savini took some of those notes from making this film, and when he did his remake in '90, maybe he's like, yeah, we need like a stronger female lead, you know, like, I don't know. It was just a different thing. I think the soundtrack is... What?
How intimidated could you possibly be by a Hare Krishna zombie?
Yeah.
So, I mean...
That is one of my favorite zombies in the movie, though.
Definitely.
The soundtrack is undoubtedly one of my favorite soundtrack ever. I mean, every piece of music was thoughtfully composed or selected for this movie. One of my favorite moments is when the racist dude at the beginning just gets shot. Like, it looked great, and it was like that dude was... I forgot he was in this shit.
Wooly.
Yeah. I love the moment where the guy's asking for cigarettes, and they're like, "Oh, I gotta."
That's the best shot right there. Yeah.
And
I'm like, where are you gonna go? Or he was like, to the island, and they're like, what island? And they're like, you know, any island.
Yeah. And a lot of this stuff, like, I was like, this is what would happen. Like, this is exactly what would happen if zombies... I mean, just look at how we're handling a fucking pandemic.
Right.
I mean, if we had zombies, it would be exactly like this movie. There would be people like, of course they'd be like, no, I don't have cigarettes. They'd also be like, no, I don't have any toilet paper. No, I don't have any, you know, I've got a helicopter I'm stealing from the TV station, you know. But Steven, let's get into him. They portray him as completely inept. Aside from being able to operate that helicopter, he really is just a liability for this group. He attacks a zombie at the fueling station like a man who just got his arms and legs for the first time. And then he nearly shoots Peter directly in his face. And Roger keeps pushing him aside when anything like needs to be done. Yeah, and then he's just shooting bullets in that like boiler room situation. They're just ricocheting off everything. He's really just a danger to himself and everyone around him.
Oh God! Yeah.
He's always almost dying or killing someone accidentally.
And yet his only skill is that he can fly that helicopter.
Yeah,
like,
but
that's the only reason they have him there.
His woman doesn't even have respect for him and thinks he's going to die because she's like, you need to show me how you are going to fucking die. You're terrible. You've almost killed everybody here.
I want to learn how to fly that shit.
Yeah. And then she
are a walking calamity.
She gives him like a little dig when she's like, maybe I'll learn how to use it when she's talking about the gun. Like, I think that was directed towards him too, because he sucks.
But I mean, that's a lot of foreshadowing, though, to the end of the movie, because we know, all right, he's had so many close calls that, I mean, he's only inevitably gonna find his demise somewhere.
This is
that's how much of a liability he is. Zombie him fucks it up.
This is the first time I've ever watched this movie and been like, man, I am so surprised that Ken Foree like made friends with this guy at any point. I would want him. I would push him out to the zombies at some point. I'd be like, nope, you're gone. I mean, you were just a calamity. It's really weird. The moment when Peter brings up that not only is it not too late for Francine to have an abortion, but that he also knows how to do it.
Yes.
That's really not a skill that you would ever bring up. Even if you were in this circumstance, the only one where it would come in handy, just keep those facts close to the vest, I think. I mean, yeah. Let me see. The blood is just bright red paint gushing everywhere. It's so schlocky. The sound effects made me happy. There's plenty of biffs, boffs, splats. Really adds to the comic book feel that Romero was going for. My favorite character is Roger. He's the little bit of a wild card, and I like watching him lose it a little bit before he slowly transitions into a zombie, which every part he has is great. Every line when he's just yelling, "We did it!" Right? That shit is fucking solid gold. When they go into the gun store, all I kept thinking was like how terrible it would be to work in that store. Can you imagine 8 hours a day with just the soundtrack that's happening in that place? Oh my god!
Yeah.
Just
with the animal sounds,
the jungle drum.
It's like, dude, what mall do you go to where there's just a complete arsenal? Like even the 70s, like I was just like, 70s. What? There's no way.
Yeah. I've watched this movie with my kids before, and they accused it of being a ripoff of Dead Rising. so I had to like give them a history lesson on it.
Oh wow.
But speaking of video games, the fucking arcade that they go into is bunk as shit, man. Roger is fucking loving it though. He's driving that car thing. I laughed so hard at that shit. And I wanted to show you guys. Do you remember when they have like that romantic dinner scene
where she's all done up?
Yeah, and like there's like does he propose to her or something?
He just hands her a ring.
Yeah, I don't know what, but then it like directly goes into what I assume was the post-coital scene following that dinner, and this is the image that I'm gonna pull it up for you. That you come in on. I just want to know what you think happened during the sex scene, because what is this dead-eyed look? She's staring off at the wall.
Wasn't good.
Yeah, I don't even think
he's out.
To do it.
He's zooted.
Oh, you think he couldn't?
No, I don't think it even happened.
He couldn't.
That's an ED commercial.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's kind of the look that I have when a hooker leaves. So I don't know.
They're just both disgusted with each other.
Yeah, I think
they just resent each other so much.
I think you guys just hit it. That was an ED moment there. But yeah, I mean, this movie's great. The motorcycle gang invades. Things pick up. There's a lot of great gore and nasty, really gross stuff in this whole segment. And that's just the cherry on top of all the great stuff we've already seen. The only issue I have is the ending. I don't know why Peter didn't just hop on that fucking helicopter and get the fuck out of town. She's alone and pregnant. And she just recently learned the basics of helicopter pilotry. So I don't know. I mean, she might need some help at some point. Regardless of any complaints I could cite, this movie is a 10 out of 10. It's my favorite Romero movie and one of my favorite zombie movies. So that's my thoughts.
I believe there was an alternate ending to the movie too, where it was more of a dire. I believe it was just a murder-suicide type deal.
Oh, really?
Where no one got out.
Wow.
I don't quote me on that, but I believe they tried to rework it, and that just didn't work for some people.
I think there's something about suicide there somewhere.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that going up there, being in that situation? You just blew Steven away. The helicopter doesn't start. You're out of fuel.
Yeah.
You climb back down and just.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Now, Jason, so grim. Where's she gonna go? Like,
Jason, doesn't the copy you and I have doesn't it end where he gets in? I just watched it the other night. I was falling asleep towards the end, but doesn't Peter get in and she says, "How much fuel do we have?" And he says, "Not much."
Yeah,
because I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That's the theatrical cut at the very least.
Oh,
yeah, man. I don't know what the difference is between all the cuts.
Right.
But I do know the actual is good enough for me.
Because I remember.
Let me just go ahead and talk about it. It's a little bit. One of the first horror movies I remember seeing, and it's one of the first tapes that I bought. Anytime you went over to a friend's house to stay the night, chances are this may have been playing. We only had so many tapes back in the day. We had like
right on.
Maybe 20 or 30 to choose from. So this is one that got played a lot. So it's nostalgic for me. It's just so many good things about this. The music, Goblin, they did great as always. The writing, the story. There's so many good lines in this movie. The characters. As much as the practical effects kind of suck, I like them. Again, it's probably just part of that nostalgia. Like, my youngest son came in while I was watching this movie, and normally, like, he'll go once he finds out I'm watching a movie, he'll go sit down on the couch to try to watch it with me. He looked at this for about 10 seconds and just walked off. Like, he wasn't interested at all. So they probably look kind of stupid to him, but it is what it is. The acting's good. It's just this European cut. Like, I think it's just little stuff. Like, it seems like when they're trying to back up the trucks to the mall, when they're moving those semis, like, that scene seems like it takes 10 minutes just them driving around the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like some of that's cut out in the theatrical. There's just scenes like that. There's a lot of that where stuff is just going on for way too long. And it don't need to be 2 hours. So everyone's already seen Dawn of the Dead, but whatever. Some young kids are watching this. Give it a go. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I just recommend the theatrical version.
Well, I watched. I got a digital copy from a friend of mine, and it was the 4K Nicholas Winding Refn, however you say his name. Argento cut 4K, and I thought it was the same one you were watching. And you're right. The beginning of that goes on for way longer than the theatrical. I'm talking about the TV station part. Goes on forever.
Yeah.
And definitely the ending for sure takes way longer. I was falling asleep watching it, which I normally don't on this one. But yeah, I mean, same thing, man. It's one of those. I watched Night of the Living Dead 100 times growing up, and this one was always in the rotation right after. I happen to be one of the few people who think the remake's as good, if not a little bit better. People get mad at me for saying that.
No, you said it was better. You clearly said it was.
I'm trying to be polite, but yes, I feel.
I get it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It really is.
That was a really good remake. It was so good.
I love the way that Zack Snyder shot that, and I think that the script by what's the guy's name? The dude that wrote Guardians, James Gunn. He wrote the script. I think it's a perfect script update.
It's the only good movie Zack Snyder's ever made. So I mean,
hey,
wait a minute, he's made something
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, but for me, I'll give it a 10 out of 10 too. It is, for its time period, it is a perfect encapsulating movie. It has everything that you could want in a horror film. So I would also give it a 10.
So this was one of those ones. I saw it young. I remember, I think the very first time I saw it, it was a sleepover at my house. My best friend Rory was there. Dad rented it. He's like, listen, I've told you about Tom Savini before, right? And we're like, yeah, and I've told Rory because he's my bud. And there were a couple other kids there too. I don't remember who they were. Pop that in. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, this is real shit. You know what I mean? They just hit that dude with a machete. Holy shit. It was a very, very cool thing to see. I think I was like eight maybe. No, maybe 10. All right. Anyways, yeah, this is like a quintessential zombie. This is top 3 zombie film all time. And Night of the Living Dead probably is up there as well. But yeah, I got that Second Sight one. It was really good. The picture is amazing. For a long time
I
watched
hearing about is there was some color correction somewhere?
There might have been.
I'm seeing people throw a fit. I'm like, you guys are so shut up.
Places
it
that
ruins
look
the
a little
movie.
more realistic than others.
I swear,
The blood's a little. It's just it's not as painty looking. You know what I mean? It's the transfer and stuff. Like, this is, I don't know. The picture behind me may or may not be from the cut. I just grabbed it off of Google, but the effects still look really good in my opinion. I love the part. My favorite effect is where when the zombies get to the bikers, and he's the dude with the handlebar mustache. He just gets his guts slowly ripped open. And they're just in there, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm an idiot. I'm thinking of the 4K releases of Lord of the Rings that just came out. They did some color correction, and people are throwing a fit.
That's true, though. They did.
They took the tones and tried to make it look like, I don't know. Maybe it's the Hobbit movies. They took those tones and tried to make them look like it was made at the same time Lord of the Rings. We're getting off track. But
oh my god.
Anyway, it wasn't a second sight on the dead. Everything's perfect with it, I'm sure. I don't want to get that rumor started.
So fun fact that I found out from the special features. The one special feature on the new set is all the zombies that'll talk are talking, and the one in the boiler room at the mall, that's the brother from the Father's Day segment of Creep Show. Remember the smarmy brother on the original Creep Show, and I want my cake, and he's real uppity. That's him.
Oh my god, yes.
So, yay. Fun fact.
Nice.
Let's see here. I like how they went to the mall for a pit stop and it ended up becoming their prison. This is the very thing they were trying to get away from. And do you guys, I don't know, when you guys watch movies, do you look for messages and shit about capitalism and all that shit?
Sometimes they just appear. This one has this one has
I don't care about all that. This is a zombie.
I look
at the
directors talking to me.
But part of it, I thought maybe I just wasn't smart enough to pick up on the stuff, and then I got to think about it. No, I don't care.
That's cool, art and stuff. That's sweet. There's a meaning behind it. I thought the meaning was let's not get eaten by the zombies. Here's a mall. Malls are huge and new.
That's the thing, though. You can watch it with different perspectives every time. I mean, as many times as we've watched it,
especially the extended cut. Holy shit! I think that's 2.5 hours or something like that.
That is always unnecessary. Always unnecessary.
It's cool to see, though. Lots more drama and resentment and building. I don't think they resolve did his dick not get hard, or are they just that disgusted with each other moment after dinner. But yeah, this was my first effects heavy movie. This was the goriest movie I'd seen to that point. And I still think it holds up. I don't watch it that often anymore. I got to be in the mood to watch it. I was super in the mood when I got that fucking upgrade, that Blu-ray. Finally, I own it on Blu-ray, So I definitely watched all 3 cuts of that. And the main difference, aside from length, in the Argento cut is all the music is Goblin instead of with a little tiny bit of that library he got the music from. In the American, in the theatrical cut, it's mostly that stuff and a little hint of Goblin. You know what I
Or
mean?
even those like 70s action tracks that they cut between them too, because it felt like it felt like an old 70s action thriller.
Yeah, he got the for some musical library. I can't remember. It's like they have just a shit ton of music and they license them out for movies and stuff.
Yeah,
that's where all that got
a big difference when they switch to like the rednecks rounding up and shooting the zombies. It's like some party redneck music, and it cuts right from an eerie Goblin track. Right.
Yeah, that shit's fucking hilarious too, because all those hunters and shit and all the army people and the police, they just came there and showed up for free, evidently. And that people that those dudes with the guns they didn't need anything more than an invitation to fucking tote their guns out and drink beer.
Drinking Iron City beer, City too, by the way.
Oh wow. There you go.
Yeah, homebrew. Homebrew.
Yeah.
But this is still a great film. It is a good movie. It's well made. It's the Empire Strikes Back of the Living Dead world. It is, like I said, it's in the top 3. Pardon my itchy ass eye. It's a 10. It's not my go-to anymore. It used to be, but just that doesn't stop this being a powerful piece of horror. This is one of the tent poles of modern horror. Like Night of the Living Dead was shocking. This rat like just kicked it up a notch. With the gory effects and stuff in a mall, and it
established a lot of contemporary zombie movies. Like it set the rules almost.
Pretty much. So yeah, it's a 10. Full on 10.
Right on. Dave?
A raging 10.
I want to preface this by talking about Romero a little bit, and by all means, please jump in because I want this to be a conversation. So Night came 10 years prior to this movie. So every year, like it seemed like George had taken so much of his time to make this one, as opposed to, because the same thing happened with Day of the Dead 2. It took him many years to develop that film as well. And the way he writes scripts is that he writes treatments, and like it's not a minute a page. It's literally he will write Bibles of scripts and ideas that he just wants. He does not write. He did not write conventional scripts whatsoever. So when he was talking to Argento, they really had to rein him in with what he wanted to do at that time. And him as an independent filmmaker at the time, like he was getting no studio backing, so it had to do with him. This movie was made on, I want to say like it was over $1 million. It was like 1.5 or something like that. So it was really his movie. And they had so much, they put so much, I guess they just knew he could do it, I guess. And I even wouldn't even consider this like, obviously it's a horror movie, but this is a social commentary film, because if you look at Night of the Living Dead, he's like there were a lot of social commentary cues there by using a black protagonist. Even that ending in the first one really said something to people. And I feel like this one, it had a lot of themes. You have mainstream consumerism. You have sort of like, because even they didn't, when you have that flyover scene as they're going over the mall initially, in the Monroeville Mall, which is very close to where John and I live, they go, "What the hell is that?" That was at a point where malls were fairly new. And it was a fairly new concept that you could go into a place and buy whatever the hell you want. So I feel like that was the perfect setting to have something like, okay, this feels like a reprieve for us. This feels like somewhere where we can stay and actually be sustained. There is sustenance here in which we might be able to survive. And that's what I really love about it. And especially watching it now, I feel like there's almost this meta, like, ironic, because now malls are dead. Malls are officially dead now. So it's almost funny seeing that they saw that as this like all golden utopian answer, and now they're still just destroyed. It's fantastic to me.
If you go to a mall nowadays, though, they're all just like living dead people walking through there.
Right, exactly. Which makes it so much crazier, because you're just like, like, who's gonna be at a mall right now, and who wants that?
Lots of people still.
Yeah, true, but like you have malls all over America that are just completely dead.
I went to a mall recently and it sucked. There was nothing there. All the shops were closed.
Yeah, except for the zombies.
Yeah.
Or in that case, they are zombies too. And I think there was I gotta look at the quote. So who is it? Pauline asks.
What are you
is it
doing?
What? What's the female's name?
Francine.
Francine. Pauline. Yeah. All right.
I had a hard time with the names, I'll be honest, because they were so.
I always forget Roger's name.
Roger was the one that I knew, but I kept switching up Peter and fucking. I forgot him already.
Yeah. Peter Venkman.
So she asks him, like, why do they come here? And Flyboy answers, it's some kind of instinct, because it's an important place in their lives. And I just thought that was like kind of powerful, because you have these people running back to what would be considered contemporary life and what these people have and what they yearn for. And I feel like that's much more important than the gore in this movie. I thought it was great. There was also a time in the beginning when Ron's shooting all those people in that cage in the jail.
Oh yeah.
And he also asked, okay,
in the basement of that building?
Yeah. So he goes, why did they keep them here? And he goes, because they still believe that they're respecting dying. And I thought that was interesting too, because there's still some semblance of normal life, especially in the beginning, because it starts out in this newsroom where people are still trying to do their jobs. There's still a broadcast going on at the same time. There is complete chaos.
Because they're arguing about how long they're going to stay on. Like the lady goes like 3 or 4 times in that scene. Like, how much longer are we going to do this? We should be getting out of here.
And some people feel like doing their jobs, and other people are like, let's get the fuck out of here. Yeah. And there's just this weird duality between, like, okay, are we going to abandon our life at this point, or are we going to try to move on and survive?
I'll tell you what, the one conversation
that was way more important.
The one conversation that they have at one point on that TV program, where the one guy's like, "Well, I'm talking about doubling the food supply," and he's like talking about feeding the zombies, and I'm like, I'm like, if that point, I would turn the fucking TV off. I'm like, these guys aren't going to solve the problem. I'd be like, we're on our own here.
And so after they decide, okay, we're going to do this. Us is Flyboy's a weather broadcaster. She's an anchor, and they cut to the hillbillies outside, and it just seems like they're having fun, and it's like, okay, they think that this is just going to continue until someone's going to, or we have the situation under control, and that was a part where I was just like, well, okay, you have different dynamics here where people think you're going to get through this. But at the same time, there's other people that are like, hell no, this is completely, this just isn't sustainable. And I just thought that was great that they were just taking different different character arcs and saying, okay, this person actually like, hey, let's wait it out. Like, what do you mean wait it out? There's no waiting it out. Like, there's still hope,
I would have stayed in that. I would have stayed in that mall forever. I would have stayed.
Right. Yeah,
I would have hid away until the bikers left, and then just lived there forever. I don't know.
Yeah,
I would have tried to. What's your rating, Dave?
I love that. I love this movie. This was something that I had watched when I was a kid, and this is probably my favorite Romero movie of all time. I do like Martin though. Martin's one of my other favorite ones. I mean, I'm a Pittsburgh nut, so I like that he there's so many different set pieces and different places that just seem so familiar, even though it may be a mall or maybe an exterior shot. Like, it feels very Pittsburgh to me. There was even a shot as they were leaving that project scene, which I kind of want to talk about that project scene too, where they had the steel building as the lights are going out. So you see this major city as the lights are just blaring, just coming out as they're moving to find.
That was a powerful part, and the music was like real creepy there too. That was a good one.
And the best part of this movie is it sets up immediately. It does not waste its time in saying this is the situation. You have a cameo with George Romero as a tech director during that whole news broadcast, and you can tell the movie's so low budget because they took like the KK, like it would be our equivalent of like a KDKA, where they just printed out they printed out just this cardboard paper and just pasted it to the camera to make it seem like it was like part of that studio. And that was really funny. But like when they get to the projects, so you have certain people that are like completely going rogue. Like that big dude with the mustache, like, hey, I'm going guns blazing. I'm gonna kill these guys, and then you get into that room where the amputee is sort of crawling into them, and then you have that rookie in the corner that ends up blowing his brains out, and then So following that, you have him finally finding a friend as they go into that basement, and then you meet that priest who I'm not sure what the significance of him would be being an amputee, but like there's still this semblance of not necessarily evaluating the situation, but still being like, well, we can still help these people, which I thought was really interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, I mean, the beginning.
We told you what we think.
Yeah, the beginning is the beginning is crazy. There's a lot of shit happening, but
yeah, that's a rough scene. I remember hearing all those racist terms when I was young. Watching this movie, and I was like, "Oh man, this guy sucks."
I used to never think people would act like that when in a situation like that, and then I've lived through the last couple of weeks, so
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of those Latino gang members are white too. That they just.
Oh yeah, John.
Yeah, that one Martin, dude was straight.
Martin was
painted brown. Painted brown. But anyways, guys, let's move into our game, the invasion of the skin dancers.
Did Randy rate it?
Oh yeah, he gave it a 10.
I gave it a 10.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Dave, did you give it a 10?
Oh hell yeah!
I think it was 10s all around.
Real quick,
if I could give it another 10, I would.
Speaking of landscapes that remind me of Pittsburgh, that opening of Blade Runner always does remind me of Pittsburgh.
So let me say this. I guess everyone gave it 10s all around, and has put this up there as the kind of the top of the zombie movies. This would be my third favorite of Romero's. I like Night and Day better than Dawn.
A lot of people do.
Just saying.
Yeah. But as far as
anyone seen Land?
Yeah,
I mean, I
it was
like
all right.
Land, too.
I liked all of them to some degree.
Yeah.
But as far as number one zombie movie, that's going to fluctuate for me. It's going to go between just zombie to
Oh yeah. No, yeah. No, I mean, I was just
Return
talking
of the
about
Living
out of
Dead.
the trilogy. Out of this
Can
trilogy.
I ask you guys though? The first time you saw Land of the Dead, the very first time, first viewing, I saw it in the theater and walked out and thought, "Wow, he missed the mark on that."
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I was a little disappointed. It was
I was
like
disappointed.
Yeah, first
multiple
impression.
It was
viewings.
rough.
It's grown on me.
It
know?
was
It's
not
like-
what I was expecting.
it was
Exactly.
sort of like when Fear
A shit
Factory
on it.
came out with Digimortal. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. I
That's my
do.
reference point for that.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I actually okay. So I wanted to also highlight. So most of the zombie extras they didn't have enough makeup. So you're either blue or just to get as many people looking like zombies as possible is kind of what George did. In the mall that they were shooting in Monroeville, it was during Christmas, so they could only shoot from I want to say like 1 a.m. to like 6 a.m. But there's also a lot of good zombie set pieces where they were building sort of those kill shots, and I was wondering what you guys thought. Which zombies were the favorites? You have that helicopter crash where he was
that's
cut
probably
by the whirlybird.
I think that's probably my
Yeah.
favorite one. That was really cool.
I love. Yeah, I would say that one's the most memorable. I mean, there's a bunch of great ones, but that one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that was always a fun looking one because he had such a Frankenstein head.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, something's happening here. That's not natural.
I always like when the fat guy gets it in the fountain too. That one makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, he goes
There
down
were
so
also
stiff.
those two kids too that he just kills
So
out of nowhere.
crazy.
Well, not out of nowhere, but
Unexpectedly because he was shooting high through the doors and then he gets hit by the kids. He wasn't a fan of that scene. That made Ken Foree feel some kind of way, that scene.
Yeah.
I think
That was a rough
there's a
scene
couple
for
cuts
him.
of that movie where they just straight up took that out.
Oh, that's weird.
Probably.
Yeah.